I hate to break it to you, but you are just about to build a business that slowly kills your soul. You're going to hit every revenue goal, check every single box of success, and still feel empty on the inside. You'll work 40, 50, 60, 70-hour weeks for freedom that you never get to enjoy, and you'll become successful, but you'll be miserable and you won't even know why. And deeper and worse than that, you'll start to think that you're the problem. That if you just wanted it harder enough, or if you tried harder, then everything will be okay. Now, if you're successful on paper but miserable on the inside, if you're working harder than ever but enjoying it less, or if you've built exactly what you thought you wanted, but it's not giving you back what you need, you are in the right place. Give me the next 5 to 10 minutes and I'll show you how to completely redesign your entire operating system so you can work 25 to 30 hours a week, be present for what actually matters, and actually enjoy the success that you're building. And more importantly, I'm going to show you why everything that you've been taught about success is completely backwards, and how to build from truth instead of consistently building from fear. My name is Ciara McCullough, and about 4 years ago, I was shooting a wedding 3 days after major surgery in absolute agony, facing into a 14-hour day and carrying a 30 grand tax bill from a business that COVID had completely wiped out and destroyed overnight. You see, I had built a 6-figure photography business, but I was dying on the inside. I was completely miserable. I was always on, never switching off, and honestly, I felt like I was trapped in my own success. I remember lying in that hospital bed, knowing that I had to be back on my feet in 72 hours because I couldn't disappoint my clients. And the thought of putting my health first and cancelling sent me into this massive spiral of panic about my reputation, about my income, about my worth, honestly. And I knew at that point that something fundamentally was broken about how I was building my life. And this became even more evident when my daughter May came into the world. I think she was about 9 or 10 months, and there was a moment where she was wanting to play, and I was in the middle of trying to be a present parent but also send a fucking email. And I remember that in that exact moment, while trying to send the email, I kept saying to her, a couple of minutes, and those couple of minutes turned into about 15-20 minutes. And I realized by the time I got around to playing with her that it was time for her to go to bed. And that rocked my soul, because I was becoming exactly who I vowed I'd never become. A parent who was too busy building success to actually live the life that was right in front of her fucking face. And the truth is, at that point, I had lost sight of why I started my business in the first place. Because I didn't start my business to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I didn't start it to feel guilty for prioritizing myself or taking time off. I started it because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be there for my family, because that's who I was doing it for all along. But somewhere along the way, I got caught up in what everybody else said success should feel and look like. More clients, more income, more hours, and ultimately more sacrifice. I didn't realize at the time, but I was building someone else's version of success, while my own values, family, integrity, presence, purpose were being completely pushed aside. And that changed the trajectory of how I operated or wanted to operate my business. And I started by asking myself one simple question. What do I actually value? Not what I thought I should value or had to value. What do I actually value in my life? And what do I want from my life? And how can my business influence that and make that possible? Those questions completely and utterly changed the game for me, and are still to this day the filter I use to make sure I'm constantly refining. And right now, from asking myself those questions 3 years later, I have accumulated $250,000 in total revenue, working 25 to 30 hours a week. My days look like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. with my kids and my wife, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. of focus work and client work, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. with my family, my friends, and my prioritizing my health, weekends completely off, holidays without guilt, and honestly being able to fully be present for all of it. But what's even more important than all of that is that I actually enjoy my life now. I wake up excited about what I'm building instead of actually dreading what I have to do. And that's exactly like my client Kyle, who came to me So burnt out, working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, successful on paper, but considering ending his life because he couldn't see any other way. And now, not only is he more passionate about his work than ever before, he's increased his revenue, he's increased his price twice. He's more of a present father, more of a present husband, and is building a business and a life that makes him feel more fulfilled. Or Shane, who was completely contemplating closing down his business because he was so disconnected from his life, has now just on the cusp of earning 200 grand in revenue for this year. Same person, different operating systems. And what is in that is that they started to build for their life as well as their business. And what I've discovered from working with hundreds of high performers and business owners is the most successful people are building businesses from fear, not truth. They're using someone else's blueprint instead of actually optimizing for their own values. They're optimizing for metrics instead of meaning, and that's why they're miserable despite their success. And I think the entire coaching business industry has it backwards. I see so many mentors teaching you tactics, strategies, and systems, and all while they're so important, they're all external solutions to what is fundamentally an internal experience. So they'll tell you to work harder when you're already exhausted. They'll tell you to push through and get for more even when your nervous system is screaming for better or for rest. They'll tell you to ignore your feelings when your feelings are trying to give you crucial information of where you're not living their life and how you could thrive differently. They've created an entire generation of successful people who don't get a chance to actually live their fucking lives fully because they think that freedom comes after success. Freedom comes down the line. And there are so many people now that are successful on paper but not living their lives fully because they're waiting for their freedom. Right? But the thing that I want you to hear, and that what might be hard to hear, is your business plateaus that you experience aren't strategy problems, they're identity challenges. Your revenue ceiling that you keep getting stuck at is an identity ceiling. Your capacity for success is your capacity for self-trust. And you can solve an identity problem with a fucking funnel. You can't help and heal a nervous system issue with better time management. You can't heal a values misalignment with more productivity. The solution isn't another strategy. It's a completely different operating system and redesigning that to match your life and your business. And I call that origin. Because origin takes you back to who you actually were underneath all the programming, all the conditioning, all the fear-based patterns, and helps you build from a place of your truth rather than consistently building from fear. But I want to tell you the real story because you need to understand where this work for me comes from. Between the ages of 19 and 22, I had 3 attempts to end my life. I was so lost, broken, and convinced that I wasn't meant for this world. But in that moment, again lying on a hospital bed, I realized I had 2 choices. I could keep going the way that I was going, not believing that I was worthy, not thinking that I had anything of value to add to this life, and feeling that I wasn't meant for this world. Or I could make a change, and that change could only come from me choosing to live, to fully live. And in that moment, I realized for the first time in my life, I had a choice to do something differently. And I completely, wholeheartedly jumped into that choice. But because of that choice, I became obsessed about understanding why I had been in so much pain, why everybody else seemed to be navigating life easier. And I dove into healing, psychology, neuroscience, LNP, somatics, anything that could help me understand what makes me thrive instead of just getting by and surviving. And slowly I started to rebuild myself from the inside out. I started learning about nervous system regulation, subconscious reprogramming, identity formation, and all the deep work that, in my opinion, business coaching completely ignores. You see, when I started my first business, I built it from fear. I didn't know it at the time, but I had a fear of not being good enough, fear of disappointing people, fear that if I wasn't available 24/7 that everything would crumble, and I was always on, always performing, always terrified. I was playing not to lose instead of playing to win. I was having panic attacks. I was successful on paper but felt like I was dying inside. And when COVID hit, the very thing that I had sacrificed everything for completely disappeared overnight. And it was in that moment I realized that I needed to build differently. So instead of building from fear, I started getting curious about what it meant to build from truth. And when I got my coaching qualifications, when I started to get more deep into the work that I had been pursuing all along for my own journey, I started to realize that I started to discover something revolutionary, in my opinion. That business alignment and business coaching without the deeper inner work is like building a skyscraper on quicksand, right? It might look impressive for a while, but eventually it'll all start coming down. And if you're here and you're resonating with this, and you want to break through your plateaus, you want to, I suppose, break through and earn consistent high income while actually enjoying your life and freedom, in my opinion, you need 3 things. Now, I want to be very clear about this. You need 3 things, all 3 of them, not just 1 or 2 of them. And most mentors will only give you 1 or 2. So the 3 things I'm going to break down. First, you need Operator OS. This is your internal operating system. So most high performers are stuck in survival mode, constantly scanning for threats, constantly playing not to lose, constantly looking over their shoulder, and not knowing that they're making decisions from fear instead of their own intuition and wisdom. So we help you regulate from the inside out and know yourself so deeply that you can actually build from that truth. Right? We help you then reprogram any of the subconscious patterns that are keeping you stuck so that you can support your success instead of sabotaging it. The second aspect of what we do is what's called Growth Stack, which is your business architecture that is designed around your values, your story, and your unique gifts. So no more needing to copy anybody else's blueprint, but you'll be building from your truth. And when you're doing that, your marketing will feel natural, your sales conversation will flow better, and your delivery will feel like an extension of you because it is, right? And third, and most importantly, is freedom flow. Your financial and lifestyle structure so that you can actually live the freedom that you're building in real time. So what we do is we reverse engineer your dream lifestyle and build a business that models that and supports it. This is how I work 25 to 30 hours a week and have accumulated $250,000 in total revenue in 3 years. It's not magic, it's design. And in Origin, we will work closely together on a one-to-one basis to completely rebuild your operating system from the inside out. This is not group coaching. You won't get lost in the crowd. You will be held accountable. You will be called out on your shit. And this is an intimate, transformational work for people who are ready to stop building from fear and start building from truth, right? Because what makes Origin different is we don't just give you tools. We won't just give you strategy. We'll help you become the person who can naturally support your business and sustain your success. So I need to ask you something. What is the cost of staying where you are right now? What is the price of building another year from fear instead of truth? What is it costing you physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, to keep sacrificing your life to build someone else's definition of success? Kyle, who was considering ending his life because he couldn't see another way. Now he's thriving, present, passionate about his work and life again. Shane, who essentially never thought that he could take holidays away without the guilt of feeling pressured to always be consistently on, is now turning over potentially $200,000 in total revenue this year, on track for it, and has also been thanked by clients for going on holidays. Same people, different operating systems. So if you're ready to start building from truth instead of fear, if you're ready to discover what your business and life could look like when they're designed to actually, I suppose, work in harmony together, let's talk, because every day that you wait is another day that you're building from the wrong operating system that doesn't align with the life that you want to create, and another day that you're going to choose fear over your potential. So you have a choice. Keep going the way that you're going, or start consulting your future self, the one that's building from truth instead of fear, the one that's working 25 to 30 hours a week while making more impact than ever and is more present with what matters and who matters than ever before. Because that future version of you, if you're being pulled in that direction, is waiting for you to be brave enough to choose them and to step into being who you are today and who you need to be today to make it happen. Business should be an extension of your truth, not a prison built from fear, and I would love to make that happen for you. This is Origin, and that's how we help.